So getting back to compelling, how do we actually find out what that compelling idea is? Well, there's only one way to deal with that, and that is to go to market and to find out. So what we're going to do is something that I like to call beyond 360 degrees. I don't know whether you've ever been through a corporate 360 degree exercise, but if you have done, what you'll know is that 360 is all about getting feedback from all of those people around you. So it's the people that you report to in business, it is your colleagues who are perhaps at the same level, those people who report into you, and various other key stakeholders within the corporate environment that you work. Now, Beyond 360 does exactly what it says. We go way beyond your immediate environment. So the way Beyond 360 works is we're going to go to market and we're going to ask your target markets and your audience, those people that you've already identified, and various others, what their perception of you actually is. And once we've got our feedback, we will have a very accurate way of assessing what it is that makes you deeply compelling to people who've actually had some work experience with you in the past and are having experience with you today. And we will be able to identify your success factor, what it is that is deeply compelling about you to those around you. So as you work through preparing for Beyond 360 degrees, I'd like you to think of anyone that you've actually had a working relationship with in the past. It could also include people like lecturers at university or part-time work that you've done, anyone where you've actually had to operate in a business context. And what we're looking to do is to understand how they perceive you from two different perspectives. The first one is your top three areas of strength, so the areas that they really believe that are your success factors, and the top three areas where they believe that you have room to improve. So I'd like you to prepare an email. The reason why we don't do this in a conversation or face-to-face is that we tend to try and help people out as they're speaking, and really what we want to do is to understand the words they're actually using in relationship to how they perceive us. So the written word is far better for this type of exercise. So draw up a list of all of those people that you've had a working relationship with in the past, and please include people that you might have had a difficult time with for some reason. The information that you're going to receive in terms of feedback from this exercise is absolutely invaluable. And we need to really get an accurate description or an accurate distillation of what this looks like and what it is that is deeply compelling about you and areas that you might be able to improve. I'd like you to write an email and first and foremost just top and tail it in the way that you normally would. So if you'd normally say, dear so-and-so, hi so-and-so, use the words that you would normally use. This needs to be in your language, and it needs to reflect how you would normally communicate with that individual. But the body of this email should really be quite consistent throughout. And what you're going to do is something along the lines of, I am undergoing a personal brand exercise or a personal development exercise, and I'd like to know how you perceive me in the context of our working relationship. Specifically, I'd like to know from you those areas that you believe are my key strengths and those that you feel that I have room to improve. Please also add something along the lines of, I would really appreciate your honesty and direct feedback here. And also give people a time scale. You can say something along the lines of, I'm meeting with my coach in 1 week's time and give a date, or perhaps my feedback needs to be in by a certain date. So I'd really appreciate you coming back to me as soon as possible. So We're ideally looking for at least 20 responses to this exercise, and the reason for that is there's no point in relying on a handful of people's opinions about things or their perception of you and then building a brand based on that. What we need is concrete evidence. Now, if you're anything like the thousands of people who've been through this type of exercise, you're probably sitting there in trepidation about what it is that you need to do and perhaps feeling even a little bit exposed. One thing I would say is that this is probably the most powerful exercise that I've ever come across that enables us to, number one, really get that other people find us deeply compelling for various different reasons. It's the most incredible way of receiving feedback, and it's the most uplifting experience, despite the initial fear involved. The second thing is that in letting us know what it is that, or where it is that we have room to improve, we then get to make some conscious decisions about what to do about that, and I'll get into that in a bit more detail in the next segment. So we're ideally looking to send this email to at least 50 people. And the reason for that is that we're going to get 3 different types of responses. The first is the type of person who will immediately send you a full and detailed report of what it is that they find deeply compelling about you and those areas that they would suggest that you can improve. The second type of person will send you an email and ask you for instructions. I wouldn't take any of this personally. What it means is the second type of individual needs instructions. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. And in the third situation, what you're going to find is that people don't respond at all. And this also has absolutely nothing to do with you. It just indicates the type of person that they are. They're either too embarrassed to ask for instructions, or they are really very uncomfortable about putting what they think in writing, and you may find that they're happy to share with you verbally later on. So I urge you to do this as soon as possible. We can't build your brand unless it's based on a very solid foundation, and we need to know how you're actually perceived in order to be able to do that. So get your list together, write your email, and send it off just as soon as possible, ideally within the next 12 to 24 hours. And the reason why I say that is it might take a little bit of time for you to get all of the responses back. Some people may be away, some others might be on holiday, unavailable, whatever the situation is, and others might just need a little bit of time to actually give it sufficient thought. One thing I can share with you is that the average person who receives an email like this is deeply honored that you actually asked them or valued their opinion sufficiently to include them in your own personal and professional development. So you'll find an extraordinary situation occurring as you read the emails that come back to you. This, after all, is an experiential process, and I want you to experience what it feels like, what you think, how you see things, what it is that you get from these individuals as and when it happens. As you scan each mail that comes into your inbox, I want you to keep an eye out for words that describe you positively. And I want you to put them into a document and also pick up on those words that are used to describe how you might improve. Now, let's say email number 2 comes along and it repeats perhaps one of those qualities that described you positively and one of those qualities that described how you might improve. Just put a little extra tick next to that box, or a +1, so that you can see that it's something that is has been voted on by more than one individual, and keep working the same route all the way through the emails that come back to you. What you'll find is that there are various different themes going on. So feel free to, in your final analysis, to pull your themes together into perhaps a term or a phrase that actually is used to describe you, either in terms of strengths or areas to improve. And what you're looking for after final analysis is the top 3 in each area.